Welcome to the Native Diamond Podcast.
Oh, shit! What you waiting for?
Please don't forget to like the video, hit subscribe, ring the bell. That way you're notified every time I drop a new episode of Native Diamond Podcast. Feel free to drop a comment because I love hearing feedback from you guys. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. What's going on, my dudes? Seth Mick here. This is Native Diamond Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, as always. And on today's show, I have Tyler Small, the vocalist from Saving Vice. New England Metalcore. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, what's up, man? One of two vocalists, just so we don't forget. Yeah, so I know there's sometimes we get that. We've noticed that there's been like a reaction channel or two, or like people are like, "Wait, who's this other guy? Maybe it's a guest vocal feature." It's like, no, we have two vocalists. So I was just trying to make sure I throw it out there so no one gets overshadowed or anything.
yeah, that's true. I should have mentioned that, but
it's all good.
Anyway, so how I start off every episode is with icebreaker questions. They're about 25 or so off the top, either or style questions. So I'll kick it off. Captives or slaves?
So I just kind of discovered Captives recently, and I do like one song, but I gotta say Slaves. Everything they've put out has been gold. Like the new album was fantastic. Like I love everything that Johnny did with them, and I love the new guy. So I definitely gotta say Slaves. I bumped them quite a bit.
Which do you prefer, fall or summer?
Oh, fall all the way. Like I hate when it's hot. So the only thing I like about summer is wearing cutoff t-shirts, but aside from that, like I can't wait. Like right now where it's getting into the 60s, the second it's in the 60s, 50s, I'm happier. I'm a fall guy, but it's like I live in New England too, so it's like fall out here is like a fantasy land. So
Which shoe do you tie first?
Oh shit, the right one, I think.
Yeah,
I think it's the right one because I'm right-handed. I'm gonna say right. I don't know, probably.
Hollow front or fit for a king?
Oof, you know what? I would have said hollow front until Fit for a King's new material came out. But the contrary, like I'm always the unpopular opinion where like a lot of their fans were like, oh, I don't like this direction. Like I like Fit for a King now more than I ever did. So I'd say Fit for a King.
Yeah, that's true. I really like Fit for a King's new shit.
Yeah, like it's still heavy. It's just not like all breakdowns. I mean, like I'm sure there'll still be some heavy stuff, but like it's definitely like new and fresh and ear catching, which I like. So, you know, anything that's kind of pushing the envelope. Like if they had put out just another metalcore album, just like the last one, like I would have completely fell off for me. So I like the new direction.
Beer or seltzer?
Seltzer.
Nice. Which kind of seltzer do you like?
I do Truly. Truly's my one, my go-to. I used to drink a lot of beer, but I kind of just like, I started to look like I drink a lot of beer, so I stopped drinking a lot of beer. So yeah, I'm all about the seltzers. Truly, I'm not a big fan of White Claw. White Claw tastes fuzzier and it's like less alcoholic than Truly. So I don't know.
Nice. I drink the Bud Light seltzers. I
haven't tried those, but I heard good things.
Yeah, they're good. The flavors are good. Water or Gatorade?
Water.
Ollie Sykes or Franz?
Oliver Sykes. And honestly, Franz is a way better vocalist, but Oliver Sykes is better than Franz in every other aspect of everything.
Mosh pit or standing in the back?
I mean, I had my mosh pit days. I'm a stand in the back guy now. Like, I like to have my drink and just chill and like watch it. Like, I used to be so immersed with it, but now I'm at a point where I'm like, I feel like I'm like examining and like I want to hear everything and like I like to just hear the performance now, you know. And also it's like, I don't need to get my teeth knocked out right before I need to record or something either. So it's like high risk, low reward kind of thing for me these days.
Lamb of God or Mastodon?
I got to be honest, I don't really listen to either of them, but I definitely listen to Lamb of God. I've listened to Lamb of God more. Like I do like that style a little more, so I'll say Lamb of God.
Okay. Silverstein or Hawthorne Heights?
Silverstein, always.
Sick solo or sick breakdown?
Oh, breakdowns. I hate guitar solos.
Who would win in a fight, Hulk Hogan or Stone Cold Steve Austin?
I'm gonna say Stone Cold just because I feel like it's not even really fair. I just feel like Hulk Hogan's a lot more washed up. And I feel like Steve Austin just like will be able to beat anyone's ass at a bar for until he's dead. So it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Emo or pop punk?
Emo. That's so funny. Anybody who knows me who just like heard that one is laughing right now. Because like I notoriously like I do like some pop punk, but I notoriously like don't like pop punk very much. You know, it's like there are some bands that are considered pop punk that I listen to, but as I would never go to a pop punk radio and be like shuffle and just go. Like it's just not my style.
Right on. A Day to Remember or Bring Me the Horizon?
Bring me the horizon.
What's your favorite band right now?
Right now, I'd probably say Currents.
Oh, sick.
Kind of fangirly because like they're like friends of ours and they're kind of in our area, but yeah, they've been pumping out just like bangers. Like it's been crazy. I was a really big fan of the album, and the EP before that was really awesome. And we got to play with them, and they were just fantastic live too. So I definitely say Currents is probably like who I'm jamming the most.
Right on. Yeah, their new album is sick. Had that on repeat for so long.
Yeah, it's like I'm still waiting for something to knock it off my album of the year, but I don't know. I think it's probably gonna be that'll probably be my favorite record that came out this year.
Dope. Yeah, I'm kind of split on that decision as well. I have another album, like the Make Them Suffer. That one's
That
really good too.
It was really good. I just like the style of Currents. I think it's I think for me it's Brian's his vocals and the way he structures his vocals are
Mhm.
like what I like so much about that band. Like Make Them Suffer was really dope, but I'm not as much of a fan of the screamer. I really
Yeah.
love like the cleans and the melodic stuff they do, but I just don't like I didn't resonate as much. So I bumped the record a lot, but like it just didn't hit me the way the other one did.
I don't know if you play guitar, but Schecter or Gibson?
I don't. I'm gonna say I'm just gonna say Gibson, but I actually yeah, I'm like pretty like I don't really pay attention to that kind of stuff as much as I probably should. I just sing and write. I'm in learning piano, but as far as instruments go, I'm one of those like random vocalists that doesn't really play an instrument.
It's fine.
That's not how I fell into this, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, it's all good. Circle Pit or Wall of Death?
Wall of Death, just because I just feel like they're more intense. We get a lot of circle pits. It's easier to get a circle pit going than a Wall of Death, and by definition, that makes Wall of Death more epic because they're harder to pull off.
Yeah. F is for Family or Bob's Burgers?
Um, I'm gonna say Family just because I was always more of an Archer fan, and I think Bob's Burgers. I'm always like when it comes to the Bob Burgers Archer thing, I'm always like more Archer. I never got into Bob's Burgers, even though like I don't think it's not good, but I think it's a little overhyped personally.
Vans or Converse?
Bands.
Traveling or staying at home?
I'm like pretty split down the middle on that one. I'd probably say traveling just because I'm sick of staying at home right now and because I miss touring and doing all that stuff. So I'd say definitely traveling right now, but I feel like whenever I do too much of one, I prefer the other.
This is more of like on a comedy level, but like Joe Rogan or Kevin Hart?
You know, I probably have to say Joe Rogan just because I feel like I've just more recently watched more stuff he's done. I'm not like super all about either of them, but I definitely I've seen some pretty good podcasts with Joe Rogan recently. Kevin Hart, I've only seen like a couple of stand-up specials, but other than that, I've never been like over the top a fan.
My Chemical Romance or Seosin?
My Chemical Romance.
Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis?
Super Nintendo, just because I don't think I ever played a Sega Genesis. I'll probably have to say Super Nintendo. I can't really say. I couldn't tell you.
What's something that everyone loves but you just fucking hate?
Oh man, there's so many things. But hate is such a strong word. What's something everyone else loves that I fucking hate? The beach.
Really? You don't like the beach?
No, I hate I feel like Anakin. I hate sand. It gets everywhere. It's like, no, I think the best way I can describe my hatred for the beach is when you're trying to like wash your feet off, but then you get sand stuck to your feet because your feet are wet trying to get back across the beach. So you have to go back and wash your feet off again. And you're in this endless cycle of just having sand stuck to you. And that makes you want to like jump off a fucking building.
Low gutturals or high screaming?
I'm a high screamer fan. Obviously everyone loves gutturals, but like I feel like there's a lot of people who can do good gutturals and not a lot of people who can do good high screams. So I feel like it's more impressive.
Yeah, that's actually really true. Last question. Worst band of all time?
Oh fuck! Like no matter what I say, damned if I do, damned if I don't. Fuck. I mean, I guess I'm gonna do a pretty fair one. Blood on the Dance Floor. Well, I don't think anyone's gonna argue with me on that. If they do argue, you can fuck yourself.
That's the third time someone has said that on the show.
It's like just such an easy. It's like it's true, and B, it won't piss anyone off that you care about pissing off. So it's like, you know, if I was gonna say something controversial, I can't say they're the worst band of all time, but I hate AC/DC. They're one of the worst bands for me to hear. I don't know if they're objectively the worst band of all time, but they're one of the worst things I've ever had to listen to. So I see what I mean. It's like, it's kind of like there's subjective and objective there. Blood on the Dance Floor is objectively and subjectively garbage, so it's safe.
Well, thanks for playing the icebreaker questions. I really appreciate it. So what have you been up to with quarantine and everything else going on?
Well, I mean, I feel like probably this is kind of what a lot of what I've been discussing with like some of the other artists I've spoken to is kind of like, how do you keep doing the band thing when you can't play shows? And, you know, we were at a point where we were just about to kind of jump off and get more, and like, you know, we've been touring and stuff and we play shows, but we haven't done like a lot of touring. And, you know, we were a pretty young band despite our social media presence and all that stuff. So, you know, we've only been touring really since like late, 2019, 2000. So it's, we were really going to hit the ground running this year. So it's kind of like we're back to being like an internet band, like when we kind of started out. And it's just weird because now everyone's an internet band. So we're kind of going back to what we were doing before we were actively touring. And it's just like, well, what worked for us then? You know what I mean? Like when we were all like still starting out, we didn't know how invested we were, it's just content, we just been filming music videos and writing a lot of new music, a lot of new demos, a lot of, thinking of just cool ways we can like, I feel like for every month you're not playing a show, you got to do something. So it's like, how do you do that without oversaturating? Like we just dropped an album. We shouldn't really be dropping any new music for at least a year or two, but it's like with no shows, there's got to be some kind of compromise there. So we're figuring that out. We have some really cool stuff coming. We obviously just dropped our music video for Echoes from the Gutter off the album Hello There, which we just dropped in March. And that's always cool because this is a method we use anyways, but like COVID has kind of given us more opportunity to do this. Is like putting a video out for every song that you think really deserves listens is always good, because this album came out, 6 months ago or so, and like we still have people who thought Echoes from the Gutter was like this new super heavy song that we just dropped, and like the song's been out, like, and that's the thing, is like people don't have the attention span they used to. So a lot of people listen to like the 2 singles you drop and they don't even listen to the whole album half the time. So we always have like, that's why we have so many videos, is because we really believe that every song deserved the same amount of hype. We don't write to have like 2 good songs and a bunch of filler. We always make sure every song could be the single we drop. So giving we did it for Broken Window. We dropped a video right when the quarantine first was starting out. And then, we figured we'd do one for Echoes. And it came out pretty cool. And that's the whole idea, is like, you would just put a record out, but it still seems like you're putting out new music to every new listener. So we're just trying to hit more and more new people, because we can't tour to do that. So we've just been trying to find a way to really expand, and get new fans, because like Echoes is heavier than any other song on our record. So we knew when we dropped it, anyone who was hearing it for the first time was going to find us as like, they're going to completely have a different interpretation of us than they might have if they discovered another song. So it's like every single kind of targets almost a different demographic or subgenre
Mhm.
You know, I feel like metalcore has its own subgenres now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
backwards metalcore and you have motionless and white metalcore. You can't call them both the same thing because they're so different, but they're both metalcore. So like we try to we like all of it. So every if you went through our album top to bottom, you'd notice every song. One kind of feels a little more like A Day to Remember. One feels a little more like Architects. One feels a little more like Asking. And
Mhm.
because we like it all, and everyone else, a lot of people like all of that. So why not give them all of that instead of a whole record of just the same songs written 10 times? So yeah, if anything, COVID has kind of given us time to really try to push the album and get it all the love we think it deserves, because obviously we did our album release show and then a week later everything got canceled. So
Jeez.
same thing happened to bands like Currents. Make Them Suffer. Is like, you drop a record, you should be playing shows. So
Mhm.
when you can't, how do you supplement that? So that's pretty much what we've been trying to do, is what's too much, what's too little. Like we don't like sitting on our hands. Like our band is always grinding. We're always working on something. We're always pushing. We're always doing, like, we don't ever feel like we can stop, because there's always a new goal or a new plateau or something we want to improve on. So we've really just been trying to make the most of the time so it
Mhm.
doesn't feel wasted, because it does feel like a wasted year. I'm especially for probably every musician.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's sick that you just dropped a new video, because I was like looking for something to do a reaction video to,
Yeah,
and
no, yesterday.
that sounds perfect to me. I'll probably hit that up actually.
Yeah, I think you'll fuck with it.
Hell yeah. So I like that you mentioned that about your album and like not making the same song 10 times in a row. I think that's what makes you guys stand out ahead of the pack, in my opinion. Uh, so like, can you talk about that a little bit more? So like, who's the main inspiration, I guess, behind the music? And
What do you mean, what do you mean, within the band, or like outside the band?
let's just say like within the band, like, I guess I'm sure there's a couple guys, but like, who's the creative driving force behind?
Oh, so I'd say mainly, so Robbie, our guitarist, pretty much writes all the songs for the most part. I mean, our Sammy and Kenji, obviously, they'll always put their own spin on things. Sometimes they'll write a song and sends it over, and Robbie adds his touch. But Robbie's kind of been like the key core songwriter of this band since day one instrumentally. So he might do like bass MIDI drums, and then Sammy will rewrite his parts. So then it slowly becomes like a collaborative thing. But I'd say mainly it's like Robbie and then me and Chase. So like basically Robbie will write a song, he sends it over, we write vocals to it, we'll pre-pro vocals, and then we'll fine tune and do all the final stuff later. So we like to like just do whatever we're in the mood for. So
Mhm.
one of the reasons we wanted to do what we did with the album was so that like no one would ever be surprised by anything we do, because we literally have like a radio love song, and then we have like this deathcore song, which is the one we dropped yesterday, the video for. We have this almost like deathcore song, and then we have like one song that sounds like kind of ambient metalcore, and then one that's like just sounds like 2010, Rise Records, and that
Yeah.
way whenever when we wanted to do like the piano reprise of one song, it's like people have heard us do really heavy and really soft. So our goal is to be like, hey, like everybody likes a little bit of everything. Why can't we just write a little bit of everything and make that like our sound? And it all sounds like us. So the idea behind that was like, Robbie will be like, yeah, I just kind of felt like writing something. I was listening to Homesick and I wanted to write something kind of like more in that vein of A Day to Remember. And then you have our song Eyes Up, which is kind of what came from that. And then, there's another time where I'm just like, we're all on an currency binge or something, and I was just like, I just want to write something really mean and just like serious. And then you have Broken Window, and then you have like the Fuck You song, because I was listening, maybe I listened to too much Knock Loose that one week. I don't it's so it's and that way like we can just put out something where like we just did this acoustic cover of like a Motionless and White song, and then
Yep.
like a month later we just dropped like that video for the heaviest thing we have in our discography. And it's like no one was caught off guard. I mean, some people were, like the people who didn't really listen to us. One thing I noticed when Echoes, the video dropped, is like a lot of people thought it was like a new song, because
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying. You drop a video for it and everyone gets all hyped on it like it's new, and they're like, oh man, like they went so heavy. And it's like, no, we've always been that heavy. We've just always been light too. So that kind of opens the door for us. So if we wanted to drop like the heaviest thing we've ever written next month, people would be ready for it because they just heard Echoes from the Gutter. But if we wanted to write like something super sappy and maybe a little more like new radio, a little more mainstream, our fans wouldn't be caught off guard by that because we've already done that. So it's like the idea to let everyone know that, hey, we're always going to be a metalcore band. We're always going to like write stuff that you can like elbow people in the face to, but we might also like want to get on the Billboard charts one day too. Like, and it'll never be that artist that only does one or the other. Like, we'll never abandon our sound. We're just going to add to it. So.
Dude, that's dope. Yeah, it just kind of seems like metalcore has evolved into, it's not a specific sound, or like one band has to stick to some specific, like Asking Alexandria, like listen to the whole album, you already know what you're getting, or As I Lay Dying. Like, I think the newer stuff is just incorporating different influences. So I think it's grown into that. And I think that's the confusion where people are like, I don't know where metalcore is going. But I think it's more of like what what you just summarized, basically. Like, it's just pulling from what you feel like doing that day.
Yep. And I think and we get our inspiration from all sorts of different places, It's like, we have stuff we're writing right now where like some of the song, like we're going to, some of the singles we might drop, you might hear Linkin Park one day, and then you might hear like, Architects in it, or you might hear like that knock. I'm just trying to give examples of sounds. Like, I don't think anything sounds like directly too much like anything else, but yeah, it's like we can kind of just do whatever we want. And like, one day I'm just like the other day I was literally just listening to like Blackpink, which is like a Korean like girl pop band, because I just love stuff like Demi Lovato and Spice Girls. I listen to a lot of that stuff when I write choruses for some of our stuff, because like I love catchy. So it's like, and there was just this cool like backtrack in one of their songs, and I was like, man, that would sound really cool, like if you put it over a breakdown. And like we get all these ideas from outside sources that like, and I'm like, hey, like, because one thing I've noticed is like even bands like Bring Me the Horizon or Fit for a King, when they do something really outside the box, there's always going to be a bunch of people who hate it, but there's always going to be a lot of people who love it too. And then it always grows on a lot of people after a while. Yeah. So like we've just kind of decided to just do what we want to hear. And like it so far has worked out for us, because the Saving Vice fans always love everything we do, and that's really what matters. And everything we put out is going to grab a different audience. So with the next thing we do, some of our softer fans like might not like how heavy one song is, but they're still gonna like jam it. Where that song might grab a whole audience that didn't really listen to us before because they didn't think we were that heavy. You know what I mean? So the way we look at it is like, you're always gonna like, we always want to make our fans happy, but we're more concentrated on like, there's the 10 million people who haven't heard us yet. We know how to keep the Saving Vice fans happy. It's how do we like get new people to kind of open up and check our music out and give us a chance. Because like the only challenge we've ever had in this entire industry it's like the biggest challenge of all, is just getting people to listen. Like we've never had a problem once people hear our music or see us play. Like anytime if you put us in front, like our whole thing is, you put us in front of someone, we'll do just fine. Getting people to actually look and listen is the hardest part about this job, like period. If there was a way to just make people check out everything we put out, I feel like I'd never have to like try that hard again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, because the people who are gonna like us always like it, and the people who don't like us are the people we expect not to like us anyways, and that's not who we write our music for. So you know what I mean? We know, we know what our audience is. It's just sometimes like I said, we had fans of our band who like just really like maybe the 3 or 4 singles we dropped earlier, and that's what they've been jamming all this time. They never got around to hearing the whole album. We had like a fan of ours who thought Echoes was a new song, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, this is so awesome, and it's like, and that's fine. I mean, like some people, there's a lot of bands where I only like listen to 2 songs off their album, but it just kind of goes to show that there's always more you can do with what you already have.
So I wanted to know, like, do you guys think that dropping singles could be, I don't know how to say it, but like generate more traffic than dropping an album and sitting on that? Like, what is your take on that?
So it's really funny you say that, because that's exactly the point we're at right now, where and granted COVID had its hand in it, but even without the pandemic, you know, the amount of money and like emotion and stress and time and effort and planning that goes into an album, when you know 90% of people are going to hear like maybe the two videos, see the two music videos and only hear those two songs, it's not really worth it right now. People don't have the attention span, and like singles are just the way to go. And like that's why we do videos for every song, is because every time we do a music video, most of the world thinks it's a new single. So it's like we already had the song out, but it feels like a new single because you gave it a video and like did a release for it. So we just kind of figured like, you know, singles are probably the way to go. And that way, like while we kind of experiment with what we want to do, we do want to do another record, but we want it to be like really big, like bigger, better. You know, we want it to be everything that the next phase of Saving Vice should be. So if that's 4 years from now, I'm fine with that. Because I mean, it kind of like Falling in Reverse is a great example of a band that showed that you can drop like 3 songs in 3 years and then just ride off those, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, but this way too, it's like we don't get stuck into any one idea or concept. Like if we want to do one single of this and then 6 months later we have a completely different style of song we want to do, we can just do a single for that and just try all this different stuff out. And people are gonna, and then we don't have to worry about like, you know, 4 or 5 songs not getting listens because everyone is so focused on the one. So just like let people digest one song at a time, you know, let them play that one song until they're sick of it, until they really are looking for another song. So I think that's the way to go. I think singles are the future, at least for now. I'd like to think that, you know, people are going to start missing records when I feel like it's like everything, like people, you know, show turnouts haven't been what they were 10 years ago, you know? And I think that COVID made people realize what they took for granted. And maybe like when more bands are doing singles because they can't afford to keep putting out albums where people aren't listening to the whole thing, maybe people will start missing having like a 10-song release, and they'll really realize that shit, like they'll be going back and, you know, listening to all the albums that they skipped over. And, you know, and maybe at that point, albums will be the thing again. But I think singles are definitely the move. And like hip hop is like a great example of that as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say that with like hip hop, because like I feel like rap is so relevant because you're consistently getting singles and then they're super catchy, and then you're just like you're kind of floating around, and then, you know, you only have to hang out like maybe a couple of weeks in between another single being released and it's another smash, you know what I mean? So it's like you're constantly just getting this like serotonin and dopamine and shit like that from these singles that keep constantly coming out, you know, like look at WAP or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right. And it's like it's fun too, because I feel like with the single game it gives you a little more freedom, because like even though our album was like kind of all over the place with like the different sounds, it was still one plan. Like, you know, the order of the songs was thought out and planned. Like we had it specifically set up where we had like one of the lightest songs and then it went right into the heaviest song. Like we wanted that transition. And with the singles, you can just kind of, you don't have to have one big map that you're trying to follow. So, you know, if we wanted to have like collab with another vocalist, or like, you know, have a rapper on a song or whatever you were going to do, like that day you could just do it. Hey, for this single, we're going to do this. And I think it's going to be really cool and we're going to love it. And if everyone doesn't love it, well, we learned our audience doesn't really fuck with that certain thing. And then the next single could be something completely different, but it's all going to sound like us because people already know we do all this different stuff, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's dope, dude. So like, what's like a main influence for you, maybe growing up, or just maybe some memorable albums for you that you just remember and sticks in your head?
I know it's like beating a dead horse because a lot of people say this and everyone knows this about me, but like Under Oath was my favorite band of all time. And I'll be the first one to admit that like I wasn't a big fan of their new album, but I'm glad Under Oath is still a band and playing shows. You know what I mean? Like they're still going to play their old content live. So like, that's all I care about. You know what I mean? It's like, I'd rather they put out an album I don't like than them not be a band anymore. So it's like, but to find the great line, at least in our music, is probably the biggest inspiration. It was probably a lot more of a influence on me when I was a little younger, as I've cut my taste in what has kind of expanded as far as like we don't really sound like Under Oath, you know what I mean? Like there's certain times where I can like take influence maybe with vocal stuff I write or do, but but it's like it's kind of all over the place. I'd say The Used is another another big band. Like their first album, and is probably one of my favorite albums of all time. And the vocal, like the emotion, like the screams, and like how Bert writes his stuff, I still think is genius. Like their new album was really good too. I was pretty hyped on that. So the Used is probably a big one. I mean, there's like obviously like Motionless in White, you know, is a band that like was a local band when I was kind of first getting into the scene, and I kind of watched them progress. And they're one of those few bands I feel like in our genre where, like them or not, have been just consistently evolving and always being on the mark. Like every album, even if they try 5 new weird things that you don't like, they always still have like those tracks that'll always honor their original sound. And I heard their next album is supposed to be a really heavy one too, because I thought Disguise was one of the best records ever, and one of their best, they're probably their best album.
Oh yeah, hands down. Yeah,
since I mean, I was like, it was teetering. Like Graveyard Shift I'd say would be my favorite, but it's like the songs I like on Graveyard Shift I like more than the songs on Disguised. But Disguised, every single song is a banger.
Yeah,
Graveyard Shift had some songs I wasn't into, and that's the only reason I'd say Disguise is better, because as a whole I think it was awesome. But like they find a way to do something new and different and push the envelope and just do what they want to do, but they still find a way to keep their fans happy. And like that's what I think everyone should try to model after. Even Bring Me the Horizon, I feel like I feel like they've started to add a little more of their older sempiternally sound kind of mixed in to some of the new stuff. They went a little harder. Like Ludens I thought was really dope. Parasite Eve I thought was awesome. And I like that like they didn't try to go so like, I like that they tried to throw a little more rock and roll into their shit and give it that harder vibe, because like I think that's the sweet spot for them right now. I thought Parasite Eve was like a good way to go.
Very well said. Yeah, I think Chris Motionless, I think he's like ahead of the pack as far as like frontman. I really like when you take on like this alter ego kind of disguise type thing, you know, like you're wearing the face paint and like you just have an image, you know what I mean? Yep. It's just a lot more interesting than a guy with like a band shirt and a plaid shirt on, you know, like.
And I feel like that's genre specific too. I mean, I feel like Chris is cool because he's never strayed from that. Like he's always been that person. He's never really like he's who he is, and he's exactly who he appears to be. And you know, and that goes a long way. And then there's some genres where like, you know, the niche is looking like you don't give a fuck. It's like I would say that like, you know, you can look like trying to look like you don't give a shit is still trying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, like if you're dressed like everyone in a hardcore band specifically dressed that way to look hardcore. So it's like you may look lazy, but you still actively chose to wear an oversized shirt and a beanie and grow your hair out. Like it was a thought out thing. So like not trying to have a fashion sense is still fashion. So it's like, you know what I mean? Because if you look like you're a part of a certain genre of music, there's probably a reason for that, you know? So it's like, so yeah, and like some dudes are into that. Some dudes like the whole like dingy flannel, you know, I look like I'm in Nirvana, but I play breakdowns, you know, like that's a niche, you know, and like I like bits of everything with the whole image thing, you know, so it's like I fuck with makeup, I fuck with, you know, it's like whatever, cutoffs, flannels, hats, no hats, long hair, short hair, like I'm kind of one of those people where it's just like our music. I don't want to get put into one category where anything I do is like, well, that's not him. That's so weird of him to do. Like, I just like we like to do whatever the fuck we want, and we do what we like. And if people embrace that, we hope they do. And if they don't, I mean, there's 10 million other people who can check us out. So, so that's kind of how I look at it.
I think what I like about, all right, so I'm a fan of Lady Gaga. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah, she's dope. And I think what I attribute her success with, like, she has so much like a vibe, you know, like when you see her, like I watched the VMAs with my wife, she made me watch it, but like she had a get up on, and it was just like, okay, like I think people forget that this is actually the entertainment industry, and it's more entertaining to see somebody like that than like what we said, like some fake ass Kurt Cobain with a flannel shirt on, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and some people I think really care about the showmanship, and I think some people, I think the mentality is that behind that is I think some people feel like that takes away from the music, which is like a fair opinion to have. I don't agree with it, you know. I don't think looking good makes your music less impactful. You know what I mean? I think that some people think that, like, I feel like some people in like some heavier niches, and like the more underground hardcore and like punk stuff, feel like it's almost like showboating, like it's all about being flashy, and like the music goes to shit because people are just so focused on the image or something like that. And I mean, that's a fair thought to have, but I think you can definitely tell when that's the case versus when it's not. I don't think anybody, just because like they put effort into their appearance or looking a certain way, that it's because they just, all they care about is like having fans of them and not their music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I definitely think that there's like some middle ground, and there are some, I think there's plenty of bands where the only reason they're doing well is because of how attractive someone in the band is. And I'm sure there's plenty of examples you could think of there. But yeah, I mean, I think it's like, and Lady Gaga is cool too, because she kind of had that whole moment where she was kind of doing all this shit that they were just making her do.
Mm-hmm.
She was wearing all the shit that they were forcing her to do, and now she's like doing it her way, and she's kind of like said, fuck you, like I'm going to wear what I want to wear, I'm going to do what I want to do, I'm going to write what I want to write. And she kind of stood up against like a lot of that shit, which was kind of sweet, and another reason I respect her a lot.
Yeah, definitely. So I had to ask you, because it was in the Spotify bio, but were you in Saving Vice when they played Warped Tour?
Yeah, so I joined the band like very late 2016, and I mean, it wasn't really supposed to be like a thing. Like I wasn't expecting to be in the band more than like a summer. I was just like, oh sweet, they're playing shows, I just want to play shows again. We wrote this crap little EP that we like destroyed and erased off the internet. Like, and we played we played a bunch of local shows in like 2017 and stuff. And we kind of were like, okay, we ended up opening up for Devil Wears Prada, like the summer, like the first year we were playing shows. It was 2000, I think it was like July or like summer of 2017. And then we're kind of like, okay, shit, maybe this is a thing. Like maybe this is a real band. Like maybe like people really like, this is actually going well, like this is happening. So later we ended up meeting our manager that year, and then we kind of rebranded in 2018 and really started fresh. And that was when we came out with our song Exhale. And then we did Colder Than Dark, our first EP. And then Exhale is actually what got us on Warped Tour. So so Kevin Lyman got wind of the video, and we ended up playing like the Massachusetts date. We hopped on like right before, which is cool because it was like bucket list, right? Warped Tour is about to end, and at least I got to play it once. So
that's cool, yeah.
Yeah. So then, So that was like, So I was in the band from that. The conception of the band before me was like a whole different thing. It was very like garagey, like college dorm. You know what I mean? Like Robbie was just fucking around with some kids from school, And then it kind of like the members got more permanent as the band got more serious. So.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, like I fucking loved Warped Tour. I was so disappointed when it came to an end, but there's been rumors that it's going to come back around. So.
I feel like it has to. I mean, if any festivals come back, I think it should. I feel like it's like anything though, man. Like I was saying before, people don't know what they got till it's gone. Because I know a lot of people have talked about this, but like everybody just shit on Warped Tour. Warped Tour sucks. Warped Tour's lineup sucks. This year sucks. Last year's was better. And they just shit on it until the second they couldn't have it anymore. And then they're like, oh no, we miss Warped Tour. I'm like, well, you were just bitching about it like a week ago. So it's like people are always going to want what they can't have. So as soon as people miss Warped Tour enough, it'll come back. I have no doubt in some form,
I think so, because I'm like a part of the Vans family. I fucking swim in Vans shoes over here, but like,
I feel like I forget so often that like Vans, the brand, is associated with Warped Tour. Like Vans Warped Tour is just a household name to me now. Like I always forget that like it's even associated with shoes and skateboarding because it's just like been so music heavy to me my whole life. It's kind of funny. As you see the tent where they're selling the shoes, and you're like, oh, I forgot that they're that's what this is.
Yeah, like I grew up skateboarding, so like I don't know. I always just fantasize like about going to Warped Tour because it's like that best day of summer. It's fucking hot out there. You're watching all your favorite bands. You're singing all day. It's just like the best fucking day. Like really.
Dude, it's definitely an unreal thing where like you can wake up. You'll never be that happy to wake up. At 6 o'clock to drive. 3-4 hours depending on like that's at least where I live. That's what it was like. Drive 3-4 hours, wait in traffic. Use porta potties, have like one bottle of water and a chicken wing and then stand in 100 degree weather covered in other people's sweat and dust for like 10 hours and then drive home the same night or so. It's like, you will never want to do that for anything else, you know?
No,
Like, so
definitely not.
it's like, I don't even want to do that now. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But like other festivals, like I did like Summer Slaughter. I'm sure there's different waves of these things that come around different places, but like we did Summer Slaughter and it would be like a 3 or 4 band lineup and it didn't have that magic. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, yeah, it's like you mean the magic, the magic you're talking about is like when you're like 6 miles from the stage you want to be at, trying to catch one band and then get to the other one in time and still get a good spot. It's like,
yeah.
it's so funny. Like, and you're like trying to like draw it out on a piece of paper. Like, okay, this is, and like praying that the bands you want to see aren't playing at the same time. And you're looking at the board, just hoping like, oh fuck. Like, it was almost like every Warped Tour you got to like shake the cup and be like, okay, what band are we going to miss today? Like,
Yeah.
cause I have to pick between, you know, like I missed, you know, like even the last Warped Tour, I missed Chelsea Grin, which sucked because my good friend of mine plays bass for Falling in Reverse, and he took me like back on stage for their set, which was like awesome because I got to like stand behind. Like, I don't know if you've ever, let me tell you, if you've never seen Falling in Reverse's crowd from the stage, it's insane. It was like an ocean, like a literal ocean of people, and like just witnessing that from like where they are, I was like, fuck, man. Like, say what you want about those guys, but like they did it, you know, and
Yeah.
like. So that was awesome, but then like I keep watching that live video from Vegas, which is ironic because I actually like lived in Vegas for a couple of years. About that Chelsea Grin, I think it was Hostage.
Yeah.
Live video, that really famous live video, and I was just like, "Fuck!" I'm so mad I didn't see their set. Like,
That's dope. I missed Knocked Loose the first go round because I was in Charlotte. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it got rained out or whatever. And it was just, dude, like it was so windy, like the fucking tents and canopies were just like blowing away. And I was like, all right, they're not gonna fucking play. And then of course, like it stopped raining after 10 minutes, and I fucking missed I missed Gore, I missed Knocked Loose, I missed I missed CKY. It was just, I was so bummed out.
that's a big list. Yeah, Warped Tour got rained out for me once, and like everyone had to leave. Some
Yeah.
people went home, but we waited in our car for like an hour, and then when it cleared up, they started playing again, and a bunch of the shit got delayed. But like I ended up missing a bunch of bands that day, so I can relate to that.
Yeah. Oh, I missed Whitechapel. I was just about to go watch Whitechapel, and then lightning struck, and then they called it. And I was like, fuck, I never got to see Whitechapel after that.
I've never seen Whitechapel either, actually, now that I think about it.
So anyways, you guys have mildly done tours, right? Or like you have done tours with the band, right?
Yeah, we did a couple last year. Like I said, we were kind of like just, you know, it's like the band really started like for real in like 2018. So we had like that one summer we were playing a bunch of shows and we played Warped Tour. We did some weekenders. And then 2019, we had like a big lineup change and a bunch of shit. So we only got to play we didn't really play the first half of 2019. And that was when we were trying to finalize, that was when we finalized recording the album. And there was a minute there where we weren't really sure what was going to happen to the band because of just a lot of shit financially with members and stuff got all messed up. And we were at a really low point. And then we kind of pulled it together and we're like, hey, we're going to at least put this album out and do what we said we were going to do. And if the album goes to shit, at least we tried and we put it out, you know, and this will be our make or break. And then we ended up doing like a couple like short tours at the end of last year. And then we would have just gotten back from tour like 2 weeks ago if COVID hadn't happened. We had shit planned for the summer. We had some really big headliners too to like push the album in like the Northeast. And then we were trying to do West Coast later this year for the first time. So that kind of sucked, you know, that really sucks that didn't happen. But, you know, we're just going to pretty much everything we had planned that we were going to do, we're just going to move it to when we can play shows again and hopefully make it bigger and better. Cause hopefully by then our name has grown even more from like whatever we've been doing in the meantime online. So yeah, we really just had those 2 short ones.
All right. Yeah, because like I like to ask on the show, it's just kind of a popular segment, but I like it when people share their crazy road stories because people love hearing that shit. So do you have any crazy road stories you want to share?
I mean, we did. I will say, like the first tour we did, we were using like a 80s or I think it might have been 70s like RV, and it was really fucking old and terrifying the entire time. Like the entire time we were driving. Like it was like we lost a hubcap in Rhode Island, like because we like hit a really bad curve. Like the trailer bottomed out one time because like we hit like this bump and it like there's a part where the trailer went completely off the ground, and it's like the whole thing was just rickety and shaking. Like it was just, but it was awesome to have the room and you could sit down and you had the benches. Like it was awesome like to have a bathroom on the road, which is the best thing ever. But like it was just sketchy all of the time. There was a part where like we were driving on the highway and the window, like the screen on the window just blew out of the window into the RV, and like everyone was freaking out. So I mean, I feel like just using the RV was the crazy road story. And no, there was a crackhead tried getting on the RV when we were in a Walmart parking lot. We were staying over one night, and like she was like trying to like get into the RV and like talk her way into it, and I was like inside the RV like trying to like hearing the conversation outside, like talking to one of the other members, being like trying to tell them what to say, whispering what to say to like get her to fuck off. Because she was totally trying to like see what we had inside. She was being super sketchy, I think, because she wanted to like see what was in there. She was insisting on coming inside, and it was super weird. And then there was all these other people started kind of gathering in the parking lot where the lady was, and it was just super weird. And we ended up moving to a completely different Walmart because I was like, yo, someone's gonna try to break into the RV tonight. I'm not even fucking with this. But I would say nothing completely bananas happened that I can think of aside from just surviving in that thing, because it was pretty sketchy. There was a part where like there was literally a point where I was sleeping in the loft and we hit a bump and I literally hit the ceiling. Like I went off the ground, like it hit the ceiling because like Robbie was like really tired trying to get home on like the last leg of the tour, and he was just going like a little too fast and hit a little bit of a, I don't know what it was, but I was asleep and then I wasn't. So I honestly, like, my adrenaline was just so hyped up the entire time we were on the road. I was like grabbing the table at some points because it always felt like the whole thing was going to like tip over and everything was rattling. Or I kept checking through the bathroom window to see if the trailer was still attached, because we'd go up, go into a gas station and you just hear the metal scraping because it was bottoming out. Yeah. So that was a one-time thing.
Are you an anxious person, or was it just that sketchy?
Oh yeah. I mean, I wasn't always, but I have really bad anxiety lately. Like, these days it's pretty rough. I get medicine for it, but it's like the medicine makes me so tired that I don't like taking it. So it's like, you just got a raw dog reality.
Yeah, dude, I totally get it. But anyways, we're slowly encroaching that hour mark, and I know you have things to do, so I'm not going to hold you up. I'll start wrapping it up here now. Yeah, sure. But, do you have any guilty pleasures as far as music, something that you're not proud to admit that you listen to?
It's to be honest, I kind of hit a point years ago where I was like, I'm not going to be ashamed or guilty about any music I listen to. So I wear pretty much everything I listen to pretty proudly. I guess if I'd say some stuff I probably don't talk about listening to as much, just because I don't like dealing with other people's opinions. I'd probably say like Taylor Swift's one that like you get a lot of shit for sometimes. Like I like Taylor Swift a lot. Blackpink definitely weirded out a few people when I was like bumping that. It's like I don't really feel guilty about anything I listen to. I mean, I'm pretty all of the different stuff I listen to is kind of like what made me who I am and what makes our music what it is. So it's like, I feel like it's always one of those things where everything, shock value or anything that people are like, oh, that's weird or different or why, blah, blah, blah. It's like those same people will dick ride the same thing a year later when someone tells them it's cool. So I just don't even like listen to that shit, because it's like half the stuff people shit on, like people will like half the people walking around wearing nail polish and stuff right now, dressing like they're emo, were making fun of goth kids at school a year ago until they listened to Juice WRLD. Yeah. So it's like, so I don't really give a shit about what anyone thinks, because they're going to change their mind as soon as it's cool anyways. So it's like, I'm not too guilty about anything I jam.
Yeah, I feel you on that, because like I grew up a skateboarder, like I said earlier, and like people used to rip on me all the time for like just shit. And now like the trendy shit is like shopping at Zoomies and like just totally ripping off the whole skateboard culture.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's definitely I hear about that a lot. About too, like the skateboarding thing. And then I kind of look at it like anything else though, where it's like, although I get like kind of butthurt about seeing all like the like these like these kind of like kids who you want to maybe call posers for all this different stuff, whether it's music or like the emo thing. But at the end of the day, I mean, skateboarding is doing very, very well as an industry and as a sport right now because of that. So it's like, and you know, a lot more people are socially acceptable of like alternative style and like that kind of music. Look at MGK.
Oh yeah.
He's trying to be emo, you know, he's trying to be like an emo rock dude now. And it's like the way I see it, like, you know, Bring Me the Horizon blowing up, all those things irk me. I try to look at it like anything where it's like overall it's better for everything as a whole because it's making it more widely accepted. So if like, you know, something like if, you know, like Bring Me the Horizon turning these pop kids onto darker, maybe a little heavier stuff, maybe segues later so a band like mine can have a bigger opportunity down the road.
Yeah.
Maybe not a bad thing, you know. Maybe Zoomies is the only reason Thrasher's afloat right now. You don't really know. So it's like, you know, it's like I try to like look at the big picture because like when you're a part of a culture like that, you're always gonna get butthurt. It always sucks when something that you did when everybody shit on you for it, suddenly everybody just starts doing it because it's trendy and it's all of a sudden cool and no one wants to accept that you were the one in the trenches. So it's like, you know, and it sucks. But I mean, like, I feel like if you don't let go of that, if you don't learn to look, that's how you start to sound like the old bitter asshole in any conversation. Well, when I was the second you when I was that like when I was doing it, the second you start talking like that, it's like, do you really want to be that guy talking like that? I don't. So I catch myself doing it. You can't learn. You got to learn to check yourself. Yeah. Otherwise,
you're right.
The very thing that you hated.
No, you're exactly right. I like it now. I appreciate bands like Bring Me and Asking, like even to this day, just because of, like you said, I mean, it just brings in different people into like our scene, and that only grows our scene. So it can only help us out, really, you know?
Well, yeah. I mean, could you imagine like how different things would have been? I mean, metalcore was pretty big back in the 2010s, like, but can you imagine if you flip the script? Imagine if like, you know, someone like Architects or Currents was getting the amount of, you know, streams and like hype that someone like, you know, Lil Peep or Juice WRLD or Post Malone or Billie Eilish had. Imagine like if that trickles down at all to like, because like, to all these bands who have put in all these like hours and years and like thousands of dollars into like producing all this music that gets like one, you know, thousandth of the attention, if they can finally maybe get some of the recognition they worked for. I mean, if that's the outcome of it, you know, I'm on board with that. You know, that's why I love seeing like Poppy, Bring Me the Horizon, and Sleeping with Sirens on the same tour.
Yeah.
Because there could be some kid who just found out about Bring Me the Horizon because they like Billie Eilish and suddenly they like, you know, eyeliner and dyed hair now. And then they go to that show and suddenly they're like, oh, I kind of fuck with that Sleeping with Sirens band. And they're like, oh, now I kind of like screaming. Now I'm looking at heavier bands. It's all, that's how like people discovered, you know, music is like they get elements of different genres, you know, and they're exposed to it. And then they kind of, when you hear it and you're like, oh, I fuck with that. Then you go, you dig for more, you know, and you'll have people like, the most common thing I hear, like see in our YouTube comments is people being like, oh man, how am I just hearing about this band? How are these band not bigger? How am I just finding out about them? It's like, because something we did or someone else did exposed you to something where you saw our name or heard our song. And like, so you got to try to just look for the good anywhere you can. Because especially now with no shows, like any way of networking or spreading music, it's like, you got to find a way to capitalize on it. Otherwise, you know, it's rough, you know, not being able to like reach people physically. You got to try to get them to like find you on the internet, you know? So.
Right on. Well, very well said. And I think that's a great way to end the show, honestly. And I'm going to ask you one last question because I always start off in a fun way. We're going to end the shit in a fun way.
Let's do it.
So last question. If you could have anything in the world, tangible or nah, what would it be?
An unlimited, like permanent, like basically where it never goes away and I can have it whenever I want, like a personal free sushi chef that I can have sushi whenever I want for the rest of my life and never pay for it. That is literally like that one. That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
That's dope.
The amount of if any money I have that is not being used for bills or the band pretty much goes to raw fish most of the time. I'm an addict. Sushi's my anti-drug.
That's dope, dude. I'm pescatarian, so like I love seafood.
Yeah, dude. I mean, honestly, like I've thought about. I mean, occasionally, usually it's just budget wise. Like I can't afford to be a pescatarian. I feel like because like healthy food is so much like more expensive, but like a lot of the times I eat a lot of vegetarian substitutes and stuff. Like I'll eat mushroom burgers instead of, I don't fuck with red meat as much as I used to do. Like, but I've actually thought about going pescatarian just because I'm like, if I can still have fish, like I can, there's a lot of vegetarian stuff that I like way more than meat products anyways.
Yeah.
And it's like also good for like, it's, you know, it's good for a lot of reasons, but like I'm always trying to be like a little bit healthier and, you know, like, cause it's like I'm in what I want to do for a living is something that is very physically demanding. So I try to take that seriously because, you know, it's like, you know, your 30s and your 40s like hit you like a train if you're not ready for them. So, you know, I want to be like looking like Gerard Way in my 40s. Well, maybe a little more like before now, but I'm already happy and healthy. But you know what I'm saying? Like I look at like, you know, it's like, you know, like Jared Leto, like no one knew he was 34 when The Kill came out. Like I want to do this for as long as I can.
Yeah.
So I got to keep, you know, you got to keep your body in check so you don't, you know, break your knee trying to like jump to a breakdown, you know?
Yeah, that's a great philosophy to life. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Do you have any final thoughts, anything that you want to leave behind for the viewers about your band or anything you want to say before we head out?
Yeah, I mean, you know, just like check everything out. I mean, if you hear a song you like, go give the band like a real listen, like try to give everything a chance. You know, when you see someone share something, like every band you like could have been that local band you ignored a year ago. So, you know, it's like, go, you know, if you like one of our songs, go stream the rest of them, check it out, and like give any band that same opportunity or any artist, you know, like I feel like you don't ever assume something's not going to be good until you check it out, you know, just give everything a fair shot, you know, and musicians are hurting right now. The music industry's hurting. So like you have no idea how far those streams and those merch sales go. So if you see something, like you are making a big difference every time you buy a shirt or play a song or share a link, you know, like that's invaluable, especially with social media being stacked against musicians. You know, it's like they want, it's like hundreds of dollars just to get, you have to like pay money to get your own followers to see your posts.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like people went there, voluntarily liked and followed your page so they could keep up with you. And Facebook actively keeps them from seeing everything you do unless you pay for it. And like shit like that is the stuff that we're battling every day. And it's like, you know, and that shirt, like every t-shirt sale that comes to us is going straight to funding the next thing we do for our music. So, you know, like, and that's, I could probably assume that would go for any other artist too. So.
All right, cool. That was Tyler Small from Saving Vice, one of the vocalists, so don't get it twisted. Go check out their new album, Hello There. And honestly, Saving Vice has the sickest merch in the game. I'll put my whole paycheck into that statement. So
well, you just wait until, I will say this, so just wait until you see the next drop we're doing.
Oh, shit.
It's probably my favorite thing we've done. Spent a lot of time on it, so stand by.
Nice. Well, you heard it first, so go check out their merch and keep checking into it and make sure that you're not missing anything. So thanks again for being on the show. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you do that reaction video, just you can email the link right to us.
Sick.
I'll be standing by.
All right, awesome. Thanks again for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, man. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Well, that pretty much does it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please like the video and subscribe. That way you don't miss a new episode of Native Diamond Podcast. And until I see you guys on a future video, shine on.
Oh yeah.